In this Bolt Fundamentals video, this is the second video in the Fundamentals series, you're going to learn how to quickly create a job, but also understand how the floor plans and customer pricing database ties into what you need to do to create a job. So if you remember from the previous video, we set up some employees, some customers, some cities, and some communities. Well, the reason why is that when you're actually adding a job to the system, you need to know the house. That's mandatory. The address. You have the option to put lot and block in different cells. You have to know the customer, you have to know the city, and you have to know the community. You also have to know the floor plan. Floor plan is required. Now, if you don't know the floor plan or you don't have the community, you can always click floor plan not known, and it's very easy to come and backfill that information later. But let's say you know the floor plan. When you click in the floor plan section, as long as the floor plans are in your database, you can click on a floor plan and quickly add that to the job, and then you create the job. Well, that information is pulling from the floor plan database right here. Now, floor plans have options attached to those, structural options. Those options are stored in the customer pricing database. So sometimes this kind of goes hand in hand. When you're beginning in Bolt, you don't need to really worry about having this information perfect. You really need to worry about scheduling properly and learning how to operate the system the best way. But just so you can kind of understand where things are stored, when we're looking for a floor plan, we're actually pulling from this floor plan database right here. So let's just say that the floor plan that we want is not in the system. We can click this button and quickly add it to the system. And it requires a few things like the customer name, the community, and the active date. We'll click create that floor plan, and then we'll create this job. So we are inside the job folder right now. And on the left-hand side are different categories within the job folder. Job pricing is kind of like the PO price, or maybe the pricing that you get from the builder on the purchase orders. So let's go down here. This is a very common area to go to first. And you'll notice that there's some empty information. For example, contract price, it shows nothing. The floor plan options and the extras, it shows nothing as well. But we categorize and organize things into options and extras. You always have a contracted price for a floor plan. Let's say it's $10,000 and you're doing electrical work and you're going to bill your customer 60% at the rough, 40% at the trim. And then you always have a list of homeowner options or floor plan options that the homeowner can select from. So let's say the homeowner wants the theater room and a few extra fixtures in different areas of the house. And then as the house and the job progresses, extras are always added on. Maybe another trade screwed up and the builder has to send you back out there to fix some of your work, and so they have to send you an extra PO. Well, that information needs to be stored somewhere so you know to bill for it and you're not missing out on billable items. So all of that is stored in the job pricing section of the job. Let's go ahead and add some information to that floor plan and to the customer pricing database so that we can add that information to the job. So first, I'll come over here to customer pricing. Now, all of this information can be uploaded at a mass scale. You don't have to do it one at a time, but I want to show you how to do it one at a time that we understand. So we'll click add new customer pricing right here. And really the only mandatory thing is a description. We'll say training extra, and let's say the active date for this price is today. We'll say it's $250 and that we bill 60% at the rough, 40% at the trim. I can even include some labor costs. So let's say I bill and I pay my sub crews $20 at the rough and $15 at the trim. The important thing to note down here is that there are restrictions. We'll come back to this later, but I'm going to leave this unrestricted, meaning that this is something that I could charge any builder in any community and in any floor plan. Now, If for some reason something is very specific to that floor plan, like a floor plan option or a structural option, and it's not going to be available on any other floor plan for any other builder, you probably would want to restrict that to that specific floor plan. So I'm going to add this option, and I'm going to say that I am paying my crews, and I'm going to restrict it to Lennar, Story Park, and the training floor plan that we created earlier. Now, just creating it in the customer pricing database does not automatically add it to the floor plan as a structural option. All it does is add it to the customer pricing database. If I was back in the job folder and I click Edit, I could come down here to the bottom of the screen and add job extras. That training option that I had here shows up right here because I restricted it to this floor plan. I could not add this to any other job. And that extra that I added earlier also shows up. Now, usually the list of options that are available for a house, maybe 10 to 15 options, and instead of having to search for each one, obviously it'd be a lot more convenient if you could just click on each option that the homeowner wants instead of having to search for it. So the way we do that is we'll tag those to the actual floor plan. So we're going right up here to the floor plan that's attached to this job. This is technically the floor plan database. So if you remember at the bottom of the screen, there's a big database of floor plans. So I search for it and I'm selecting that floor plan. There's a lot of other information that we could add to this floor plan. For example, we could say a square footage, a contract price. Maybe we'll bill 60% at the rough, 40% at the trim, and that we are paying out sub labor. And then down here is where we tag the structural options to that floor plan. But just beware that we're searching the customer pricing database in the exact same way that we were searching the customer pricing database in the job folder. The only difference is that when I search right here and I add that as a structural option to that floor plan, that's permanently saved as an option to this specific floor plan. What that allows me to do is when I'm setting up this job and I go ahead and say, okay, I want to edit and select my floor plan options. Now you see a bunch of other information. I'm seeing that, okay, this is a $10,000 floor plan. I bill 60/40. This is what I'm paying out to my crews. And then down here, I have a list of my options. So I could just select which one the homeowner wants. And then I can go down here and easily search any of the extras that I need to add on to that job. I click update and we're good to go. You don't need to get overwhelmed with this information because at the beginning, you mainly need to focus for the first 2 weeks to make sure that scheduling is done properly. All of this information is massively uploaded and it's very simple to either delete it and change out that information with new pricing. So don't worry about making this all perfect, but I do want you to understand that when you're creating a job, a floor plan has to be attached to it. That floor plan requires prices. Well, it doesn't require it, but it obviously has pricing attached to it. So you can select to say that this floor plan has a specific contract price. You can even add structural options, but it's important to know that when you're adding structural options to a floor plan, all of that information is stored in this customer pricing database. When you're adding things to this customer pricing database, you can go ahead and choose restrictions and say that, let's say you want to add something that's only available for Meritage builders or it's only available in a specific community. It's a way for you to differentiate the prices that you charge your builder in different areas of your business. So you're able to restrict things so that you're not overcharging or underbilling your builder. But at the end of the day, it obviously all needs to show up in the job folder. When you're creating that job folder, all that information shows up right here in job pricing. So you have your floor plan information right here, and then you have your floor plan options and your job extras. Both of these items are stored in the customer pricing database. However, remember we tagged this one to the floor plan so that it's available to just click on it instead of having to search through and add every single option. You only have to search through and add any extras that come along in the job. Once again, you can upload all this information on a massive scale, and if there's price revisions, you can easily inactivate things and upload new information. So if you have questions, just reach out to your account manager. We'll be glad to help.